Baba is underlining that we must look within and check what are the defects that I have. Because what is our aim and objective? To be perfect, like Lakshmi and Narayan. And you see, Baba says Lakshmi and Narayan are the symbol of perfection. Yes, so we talk about perfection in the world, but in this world there is no perfection. And it is most imperfect right now. But Baba says Lakshmi Narayan are the sample of perfection or the symbol of perfection, and we want to be like that. That is our aim and objective. So Baba says that you must look for what are the defects in you and make an effort to get rid of them. Now you see, I always think about this thing that, self-awareness, when you talk about self-awareness, then self-awareness is of course about knowing your original form, your original quality, your original home, but it's also about knowing your defects. And I usually think that somebody who doesn't know their defects are not very self-aware. And I remember, there was this one brother, and he was into alcohol, and he came to the center, and he told me something very nice during his conversation. He said that I talk to everyone with the expectation that they would give me money so that I can drink. So I said, okay, is it so? So he said, yes. And do you know, I feel really miserable that I'm this bad manipulative person, that I talk to my own father just because I think he would give me money. And I'm telling you this because I can't tell him that he won't give me money then. But the only person I talk very nicely to, I always pick up his phone, I always talk nicely to him because I think he would give me money to drink, and I think that's very manipulative of me, and my father really loves me. And he cried with that. And I told him, you are alcoholic and all, but you're pretty self-aware. So he laughed and he said, am I self-aware? So he said, yes, I think, I said, yes, I think you're self-aware. So you at least know what you're doing. And if you know your defect, then half the battle is won. So he said that, and I said, it's also because you know what needs to change. And then he started on the journey and he changed quite a bit. So he changed, he came like a long way. So I always think that, somebody who is in denial of their defects, they are really cheating on themselves. And if you know your defects, and you see, when you go for a medical treatment, the treatment is not a big deal. The biggest deal is the diagnosis. So if your defect is diagnosed, so when you talk about spiritual treatment, which Baba is doing, then if you know your disease, if you know your spiritual ailment, if you know what is your defect, then it's not very difficult to get rid of it, because now we have the Supreme Surgeon with us. But I think, most BKs and where we where we are really lacking is this awareness about our own defects. And that's because we have had 63 births of, just putting the blame of my defect on the other. Yes, that's how we have lived life. So whenever there is an opportunity to look into what is my weakness or defect, then what do I end up saying? I say, okay, I have this problem, but don't you also have it? Or didn't you trigger it? So this is how we've been leading our lives for the last 63 births, and that's a big sanskar. And I think, because of that sanskar, we are not looking at our defects. And there's another thing which I always think, most children like Baba very much because, of course, we love Baba for many reasons, but there is also this one twisted thinking that, Baba is always telling us what is good in us. So sometimes we think, we can hide the bad with the good. So if I just think that I'm a pure, peaceful, loveful, blissful soul, then I don't have to deal with my defects, or I don't even have to acknowledge them. And this is a very twisted way of thinking because it doesn't work like that. So if I do not know my defects, and if I don't take them out, then I am not a pure, peaceful, loveful, blissful soul, right? So I am that essentially, but only after I remove my defects, I'll again go back to being that. But sometimes we just feel that, good idea. Now Baba says you are not, you are a pure, peaceful, loveful soul. So let me just hide behind this and let me just deny that I have any problems. And I keep telling myself that, and I keep telling others that. So that's also a very big problem with the way we approach Gyan. So that is why, of course, Baba reminds us that we are divine beings and the soul is essentially pure, peaceful, loveful, powerful. But Baba also tells us that right now I have a lot of defects and I must look inside and check what are my defects. And how do you check? So you check in the mirror of perfection. So when you have an image of what your deity form should be like, so what are the qualities that are there in your deity form, and when you look at your perfect Brahmin form, so when you think about Brahma Baba, which is an example of a perfect Brahmin. So when you look at Brahma Baba and then see what is it that's lacking in me when I compare myself to Brahma Baba, or when I look at the Lakshmi Narayan image and I think about what is it that is lacking in me when I compare it with my perfect form. So that's how, when you, so you always come to know about your defects when you look in the mirror. So if there is a physical defect, you will know it when you look at it in the mirror. So similarly, you have to look into the mirror of perfection and see what is my defect, because you need a mirror. It's not like Baba is saying, so some things that you don't feel good about are your defects. No. But to know your defects, you should know what is your stage of perfection, or what are you capable of. And if you can't see that, then you can't see your defects, because without the mirror of perfection you cannot see your defects. So Baba always says sampurnata ka aina. So it has to be the mirror of perfection, or the mirror of complete state. And in that, when you see what is it that you're lacking in. So, of course, Baba has given us many gifts in the form of knowledge, virtues, powers, and they are all our decorations, our adornments right now. But then, what is it that's lacking in that decoration? So, are my eyes like the eyes of Sri Lakshmi or Sri Narayan, or is my is my face that cheerful? Is my temperament that cool? Are my actions that giving? Or am I in that state of contentment? Or am I able to move harmoniously through every relationship? So, or I get stuck in the questions of why, how, what. So, I have to look into the mirror of perfection. And then, when I look into the mirror called Brahma Baba, then I see what is it that Brahma Baba did and what is it that I am doing. So, for actions, I have to look into the mirror of Brahma Baba and compare what are my actions vis-a-vis what were Baba's actions. And when I look at stage, so I have to see the mirror of the perfect form of the deity and compare my state to the deity's state. And when I think about my spiritual stage, then I have to look at Baba. So Baba is the ocean of everything, and what am I like? So these are the ways in which you come to see your defects. And so you see, if a person moves without a mirror all his life, he cannot spot the dirt on his face. So Baba comes and gives a mirror so that we can see what we are and what we have become, and remove that dirt and then go back to being who we really are. So Baba says that, do you look into the mirror of perfection and see your defects? And then when you see your defects, what do? Do you make an effort to remove them? So sometimes, we see our defects and then what do? We give an explanation to ourselves that because of this situation or that person or this, and then we say, this is my karam bandhan, so I have to. Karam bandhan is a very fancy word in spirituality which children use to deceive themselves. So they'll say, this is my karam bandhan, so I can't do better than this, or these are my limitations. Or sometimes, I remember there was one Mata and she said, Didi, my part is this much only. I can't do more than this. And then there was another Mata, she told me that, Didi, everybody has a different potential and maybe my potential is this much only. So I said, you have a great potential for speaking. Why don't you have a great potential for acting? So I said, I could never think about speaking like this, that this is my only potential. So I said, you have great potential in speaking actually. But why can't you apply the same potential to actions? So you see that this thing about, this is my part, this is my potential, or, this is my karam bandhan. We keep doing this because sometimes we don't want to get rid, don't want to make the effort to get rid of our defects. So sometimes, Brahmins, they are very smart. They won't blame directly. So the way they blame is, this is my karam bandhan, Didi. I must have done something in the past that this kind of a situation has come to me, and this person, this soul is in my life, and how can I progress with this kind of a karam bandhan? So again, they are blaming the other, but in a very smart way. So we know how to play with words and stuff, and Baba always says in the Avyakt Murlis that children are always playing tricks with me and coming up with these interesting ways of speaking. But all said and done, Baba says that if you don't remove your defects, how can you become perfect? So, and then do you want to compromise on your status and position and your dignity in Satyug? So, if you think deeply and the answer is no, then you have to realize your defects, and you also have to, take steps to correct them. Now, Baba talks about some examples of defects today, right? So, one Baba says some have the defect of greed and attachment and anger. So, these are the defects. So, if you have, now you see, if there is a defect, you cannot even imbibe jnana. Yes, the sign of a defect is, let alone being perfect, you cannot even imbibe the jnana. Now just think about, why does a 3-page or a 4-page Murli not sit in my intellect? Yes, what is the problem with me? So you see that I am that person who can mug up a whole book. Yes, so you did that. When you watch a video, you watch a movie, you remember all of it. And then what's the problem with remembering one Murli? So what is it that I cannot remember a Murli? And if I cannot remember a Murli, how can I imbibe it? So there is something in me that doesn't allow me to even give my full concentration to Murli. Yes, so what is it? What is it that makes my mind and intellect wander? Is it people? Is it relationships? Where is my mind wandering? Is it some person? Is it something? Is it some desire? Yes, am I full of complaints, and are those complaints going on in my mind? What is it? So, of course, if I'm not able to remember the Murli after listening to the whole of it, that means that I don't have full concentration. And where is my mind and buddhi wandering? And if it is wandering in a person, then lust or attachment is my defect. If it's wandering in something, then greed is my defect. If it's wandering in something that I want in the future, desire is my defect. Yes, or sometimes, the defect is just that you are just thinking about somebody's weakness. So your mind is full of that. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? So that's also a very big defect. So Baba says, is your defect that, or is your defect that you cannot consider yourself to be a soul? If you cannot consider yourself to be a soul, then you will always keep looking at bodies, and your criminal drishti will always be working. And then with that criminal eye, you cannot have yoga with Baba. So if I am not able to concentrate on the 4 subjects, imbibing jnana, being in yoga with Baba, or upholding divine virtues, or doing seva, then there is some defect in me, right? And Baba says, nobody should think that there is no defect in them, because there is defect. And Baba says something very nice. Baba says, I know you have a defect, because when I give drishti to you, then I can see that defect. Yes, and do you know that this is a very interesting thing that Baba says, because when Baba gives drishti, then through that drishti, Baba looks into the whole core of the soul, everything. Baba sees our virtues, our specialities. Baba also sees our defects. And Baba says, and Baba gives an example today that when I give drishti to somebody, then I see that this soul has so many virtues, but there is one defect, that they cannot speak Gyan. Maya has, just strangled their throat, and they cannot speak Gyan to anybody. So Baba says that I look at everybody, I know that there are defects in you because I see them when I give drishti to you. And I remember, there was this one incident where I went to Madhuban with a group, and in that group there was a Mata, and she, so at that time we went to meet Dadi Janki ji, and it was a very personal meeting, and Dadi also gave us a lot of time because it was many years back and Dadi also was in good health at that time. So then Dadi gave personal drishti to everybody. And then, after taking the drishti, when that Mata came out, she looked very confused and very shaken. And then she was not even talking. Everybody was just sharing that how happy they were, and that Dadi gave them time and Dadi gave them drishti, and they were all sharing sweet experiences. And then this Mata was just kept keeping quiet, and she was very bewildered, and I could see it on her face. And then I took her to the side and I asked her, what is the matter? Is something wrong? And then she said, Didi, I felt like somebody saw me totally. And do you know how it feels when somebody sees you naked? It was that feeling, and I was very shaken up, and I felt like Dadi saw everything that's there in me, and I didn't like it. I felt like I didn't want to be seen. I felt like, she could know that I have these defects, and I didn't want anybody to know that. So I said, but it's okay. Dadi didn't tell you anything, did she? So she said, no, but I could feel that she came to know that I'm this, I'm this vicious person. And so I said, you see, it's so interesting that for the first time, you are able to say, I am this vicious person. Do you hear yourself? So she said, yes, I hear myself. So I said, see, Dadi has not only seen what's there in you, but Baba through Dadi has made you realize that there is something in you which needs to change, and you are now confronting it. You are not hiding it. And until and unless you confront it, how can you change it? And then she started crying badly, and I said, it's okay, it's okay. So you see, Dadi is not seeing you, Baba saw you. And Baba must see us, right? So if we are hiding from everybody, then how can we see our own defects? Because when we are hiding from everybody, we are denying it ourselves also. So it's good that Baba saw it, and now you also have the courage to see it. And you see, you just spoke to me about it. And it's so nice that you're speaking about it, so you can of course change it. And everybody is vicious, why do you mind? So then she said, okay Didi, it's okay that you're saying this, but I'm feeling really shaken up. And this is, that was one incident where I realized that yes, what Baba says is true. And of course, there is this fear of being seen and stuff, but Baba of course sees us, and he knows. That's why he speaks so accurately in the Murli about what is there in our heart and what we need to do and stuff. So Baba says that there is defect in you. So no child should ever think that there is not. And I see them when I give you drishti, and so you must also see your defect and remove it, and you must see it in the mirror of perfection. What is it in me What is it that I shouldn't do and I'm doing? What is it that I should do and I'm not doing? Which is holding me back and not making me progress towards my perfect form. And when you identify that, then Baba gives us primarily two things today. First, Baba says, with a very honest heart, tell Baba, this is my defect. Yes. And when you, have you ever felt that when you have spoken to Baba honestly about your defect? And what is honesty in this regard? Honesty means honesty of the intention to change. Yes, so if you really want to remove that defect and you're sharing with Baba with that honesty of intention to change, then you know what Baba gives you? Baba gives you Sakash. And what is Sakash? Sakash is or current. And what is current or Sakash? That is the extra power that Baba gives you by virtue of this honest sharing, and with that power you are able to break that cycle of the defect with one big hammer. So, you are able to overcome it in one go. And if you have experimented with this, then you know that when you have really deeply, with your full heart, given a defect to Baba and said, I don't want this in my life anymore, that has disappeared. Has it not happened? Yes. If you have done this, then you know that it has changed completely. And that happens when you give this to Baba honestly, and Baba gives you the current or the Sakash to do it. And then Baba says, sometimes you don't know the way out, What do I do about this defect? For example, there was this one soul, and they told me that, I have this habit of wasting time. So I waste a lot of time because I have a lot of time and I'm not working or anything, and there's just too much time at my disposal, and that's why my time gets wasted, but I really don't know how to use it. And then when that soul, with that honest intention they shared, then I told her that, you write the Murli every day. You write the whole Murli, sit and write, and then take points and then just think about them and write explanations on it. And they started like that, and now they're doing a lot of seva also. So you see that when you don't know the way out of something, sometimes there are defects that you realize, recognize, but you don't know how to come out of it. You don't know the yukti to come out of it. Then Baba says, if you honestly share it with me, then I will give you the yukti, because only the surgeon gives you the yukti to come out of the illness. And Baba says, assistant surgeons can also give you the yukti. So who are the assistant surgeons? The teachers that I appointed for you. So Baba says, you tell them also that I'm facing this problem and then I cannot come out of this defect. So how do I end it? So then they will give you the yukti. And there was this one brother, he told me that I smoke. And I said, you have little children, how do you smoke in front of them? He said, I never smoke in front of them, Didi. I smoke when I'm alone in the room. So I said, where is that room where you are alone? So I said, it's the attic. So I have a room there, and when my children go to sleep, I go upstairs and then I smoke up to 3 in the morning. So, and I keep reading things, watching things, and this is how this is a very bad habit with me. And then I told him, put a lock on that attic, never go there. And he said, really? So I said, yes, you put a lock on that attic and submit the key in the center. and don't take it back, and I won't give it back to you. And then he did that, and that thing stopped with that, because that was an association thing. Because when you are with the children, when you're downstairs, you don't feel like smoking. But when you go upstairs, then your mind is working differently, and you have that association that now I want to smoke. And most vices, they are associated with congenial surroundings, or some association you have with a person, with a surrounding. So when you change that, then you can get rid of the vice. So sometimes when people who drink in groups, when they leave that group, they get rid of the drinking also, because that's their association of drinking. So there are many methods with which you can get rid of the defects, and Baba says, if you just share what is your defect and you want some yukti to get rid of it, then you tell me, I will speak about it in the Murli, or you tell your Nimit teacher and they will also give you some yukti, because they will also be in my remembrance, and I'll give them the touching to give you the yukti. So Baba says, this is how you get rid of the defect. And sometimes, while you're sharing honestly, you come up with a way to get rid of the defect. Have you seen that? So just while you're sharing that I have this defect and I can't get rid of it, at that time, during that honest sharing itself, you come up with some idea to get rid of it. That's also Baba's grace. So Baba says, this is how I give you the yukti, I give you the shakti. So if you apply both of them, then you can get rid of every defect that's there in you, and you can become your fully perfect self. So Baba says, recognize your defects, and then with the method I give you, get rid of them. And then Baba says that, many children say there is no seva for us. And Baba says, oh, but there are so many temples, and you can go and serve in temples. And I remember, there's one experience, very beautiful, that I had with seva in a temple. And I have related this earlier also, but I will reiterate it. And there was this one temple, it was a Shiva temple, and it was Savan at that time. It was the time when in Bhakti, people visit the Shiva temple every day. And in that Savan month, I and one Mata, we went to the temple, and we said that we want to talk about some truth about Shiv Baba. And they said, but you've come at a very good time. So somebody who reads the Shiv Puran for us every day, that person has not come today. So why don't you read the Shiv Puran for us today? And I had never read Shiv Puran in my life. So I had no idea what is there in Shiv Puran. And I'm talking about maybe 15 years back. I was, it was very early in Seva. So I said, okay. So they mark the page and where they have finished yesterday, and then they read from that onwards. And they gave that Shiv Puran to me, and I started reading that. And in that Shiv Puran, it was written that because Shiv Puran is written in the first person. So it was written, I, Shiva, I take the chariot of Brahma. I make Brahma my instrument to change the world, and when he is unable to, I enter his forehead, his lalat, and I do the work. And that was the verbatim, words of Shiv Puran. And when I read that, I was overjoyed, and I felt, Baba is giving me the whole platform to explain how he comes in the body of Brahma and how Brahma is an old man in Kali Yuga. And then I explained everything to them, and they said, okay, so where is this Brahma right now? And then I told them about how the yagya was, established, and now Brahma Baba is in the avyak stage. And it was such a good experience. And you see, Baba always says that if you just do what I say, the rest, you take one step and I do everything. So when I followed that direction of Baba, that go to the temples and serve my children, then I had this beautiful, wonderful experience. And Baba says that every child, you can serve anywhere, anybody. Just take care of coolness, humility, and soul consciousness. So when your head is cool, when you have humility in your attitude, and when you're soul conscious, then you can serve anybody you meet on the street, in the temple, while traveling, while in family functions, anywhere. So Baba says there's a lot of seva, never say there is no seva. Okay, Om Shanti.